Hi, this is Katie Gamble, and we're here for this series we've been doing where we've been interviewing candidates. And this is just another episode of Clarksville's Conversation. Today it's me and my buddy Charlie and my other friend Chris Smith. And Chris, do you want to introduce our guests today?
Yeah, today with us is Representative Jason Hodges. He's finishing his first term as a member of the Tennessee House of Representatives. He's a Democrat running on the ticket, and he previously served as a Montgomery County Commissioner. So welcome, Jason, and thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank y'all for having me.
Well, Jason, thanks for being here, and we do appreciate your time. Let's kick it off. Let's talk about education, see where you stand on school vouchers and other reform ideas.
Yes, so I oppose vouchers. I voted against them. The problem with vouchers is it takes money directly out of our public school systems and sends them to private schools. And you'll hear the term parent choice, but it's not really parent choice when they give you basically a $7,500 check to a low-income family and tell them they can go to any school they want. Private school is generally far more expensive than $7,500. So that'll leave the low-income kids in the public school that now has less money, and leaves others to be able to, whose parents can afford to put in a little money to that private school. It allows them to leave public school, which again really hurts our public school system and doesn't give every kid an equal chance at an education.
Are there any other education reform ideas out there that you can speak to?
Yeah, I'll talk about something that I've been working on and still working on, and we've actually kind of built a bipartisan caucus, an urban caucus on this, and that is fast-growing communities like Clarksville is a prime example, right? We're growing at such a fast rate that we have to build a school almost every 2 years to really keep up with the population. And so our growth is a benefit to the state of Tennessee. And so what we're asking the state of Tennessee to do is help those high-growth communities build those schools, because we can't keep putting this growth on our property taxpayers. And we kind of force our county commission to increase property taxes every 2-3 years. And having served on the county commission, I know what that's like. But you've got to build these schools, and they cost a lot of money. You're talking about an elementary school costing $25 million, a high school costing up to $70 million. That money's got to come from somewhere. And again, the state really benefits off sales taxes that in our growth. So we're just asking the state to give back and help us keep that growth positive.
Jason, I really don't know where we are on this right now, so it may be nowhere, and that might be the answer. But I know that you were really implemental on pushing to change the grading scale. Where are we on that?
Yes.
Like from a 7-point to a 10-point?
Yes, ma'am. So it passed all the way. It passed subcommittee and then passed through education committee, and then COVID hit. And so what happened is, the Senate said we're not hearing any bills that aren't COVID related. And that bill got squashed for the year. I have every intention of bringing that bill back. And for those who don't know what that bill is right now we're on kind of a very weird, unique grading scale system for high school students, where a 93 to 100 is an A and 85 to 92 is a B, so on and so forth. And what we're trying to do is, it's a disadvantage to our students, because every state around us is on a 10-point grading scale, where a 90 to 100 is an A and 80 to an 89 is a B, so on and so forth. And so what happens is, for instance, I had a military family. Father had just gotten back from Afghanistan. They moved from North Carolina to here. He gets stationed here. Son goes to school. He's a senior. He starts school here, and his GPA just dramatically drops. And actually, he was going to lose his scholarship eligibility. So even though his father just got back from Afghanistan, hadn't gotten to see his kid in over a year, the wife or the mother of the child moved back to an apartment in North Carolina just so they could finish school, and he could maintain that GPA that he had earned on a 10-point grading scale while he was in North Carolina. We need to make sure that's not happening to our kids. It hurts our kids with scholarship opportunities and everything else, and hopefully we'll be able to correct that next session.
Well, I hope so. I'm all for that. So talk to us a little bit about where you stand on Medicaid expansion, and then what are some of your ideas for affordable health care?
Yes, so I was a sponsor of Medicaid expansion my first year in office. My second year, I actually passed my bill to a Republican prime sponsor and became the co-sponsor just because the Republicans are the supermajority in the House of Representatives, in the Tennessee House of Representatives. And, you know, a bill like that, especially a big bill like that, always has a better chance of passing. We right now are actually having meetings, a bipartisan group of several legislators that are trying to push it again, and we're really building steam. We've added members. The bottom line is we've lost $7 billion from the federal government out of this. The federal government, just so you know how Medicaid expansion works, the federal government was going to cover 90%. The state was on the hook for 10%, but the hospital association was going to cover. Governor Haslam had actually negotiated a deal that the hospital association would cover our 10% for good. So we weren't going to pay a penny for this. We've lost $7 billion. The biggest argument has been from people that oppose it is, well, you know, what if the federal government stops the program? In my response to that is the federal government to this day has never missed a Medicaid payment. There's no reason we should think they would. And even under some hypothetical situation where they do, I would say that having insurance for a little time is better than not having it at all. And I can tell you as a legislator, I'm given health care from the state. I can accept that or not accept it. I, of course, accept it, knowing that every 2 years I could lose that because there's no guarantee that I'm going to be reelected. So I'm still going to take it, though. That's 2 years that I have insurance. My family has insurance that we otherwise may not. So you know, I think that's kind of a silly argument, and hopefully we can, in a bipartisan way, get Medicaid expansion passed.
So sticking a little bit with healthcare, what do you think about Tennessee's response to the coronavirus pandemic? How do you feel we've done, and what do you think maybe we should do differently?
Yeah, you know, I think obviously anytime, this is the first time in my lifetime, and I would say in pretty much everybody that's in government's lifetime that they're dealing with a pandemic. So a lot of mistakes were made. You know, when do you shut everything down? When do you open everything up? And those are tough decisions to make. So I don't want to be too hard on the governor here, because at the end of the day, this was a first time for everybody, right? I do have some issues with the no bid contracts that we gave out. You know, when we're giving millions and millions of dollars out without bidding, what we found is that we were paying entirely too much for supplies. And I think we have to do better with that. But, you know, we just need to make sure we learn from this and have a future plan for future leaders when it comes to this. But if you don't mind, I'd actually like to go back to healthcare and talk about one more thing, because I know we kind of discussed other things that we can do. And I had an insulin bill that would have mandated that pharmaceutical companies can't charge over $100 for insulin. And what brought this on is basically it takes, for manufacturer to end seller, it costs about $7 for companies to get the insulin to the, you know, to Walgreens. So when you think they manufacture it, they ship it, and Walgreens sells it, that costs about $7. Yet they're now charging about $300 up to $350 for different types of insulin. And so they're price gouging the citizens, right? We know this, and we've got to put a stop to it. And, you know, I know a lot of people talk about free market concerns there, but what I'd like to say about that is there's a difference between a need and a want. And I talked about this during committee. You know, when we want something, a TV, free market works absolutely tremendous. It's why big screens or you can buy a 70-inch big screen for $400 now, right? Because we don't need that TV. So companies know they better reduce that price to make me want to purchase that TV. That same thing can't be said for a need. And so the example I gave during committee was, if I've got this bottle of water right here and I tried to sell it to you for $500, you'd laugh at me. But if we were in a desert and you were dehydrating on the verge of death, and I tried to sell you this bottle of water, you'd give me anything you have for it. And so that's the problem with pharmaceutical companies. They know that, and they're doing exactly that. They are just taking advantage of the consumer. And we don't allow this during natural disasters. We wouldn't allow a company to sell a bottle of water for $200 because they know people don't have clean drinking water. We shouldn't allow pharmaceutical companies to do it.
But Jason, couldn't that same argument be extended to essentially any drug that is, of a life-saving nature? Or why stop with insulin, or why focus on insulin when there's a whole lot of other drugs that that can be applied to?
Yeah, and I agree with you, Chris. It should be, but insulin right now is just they really have a hold on the market, and they've really, their costs have shot up, by just outrageous costs in the last 10 years. It wasn't too long ago that you could buy a vial of insulin for $12 on the market. And then 20 years later, we're at $350 because they have no more competition. There's 3 manufacturers, and they all, their prices all jump at the same time. So we can assume they're probably working together. And so, yeah, I would say we should definitely look at other pharmaceutical companies in the future and what they're manufacturing. But insulin is a huge need in the state of Tennessee. Diabetes is a huge risk in Tennessee. And so that was one that we wanted to address first, and that did pass through subcommittee. And again, COVID hit. Mm-hmm. So, it got put on hold by the Senate.
Why Tennessee with a bill like that? It seems like the kind of legislation that might be better or more appropriate to address at the national level. What's the argument for Tennessee kind of jumping into this issue?
Sure. Well, a lot of states are jumping into this issue because, the federal government is just hard to depend on to pass anything. They're busy arguing with each other all day long, and we see very little get done. So I think that the states need to step in at this point and take care of their citizens.
So Jason, in closing, are there any other issues that you feel like the voters should keep in mind before they go to the ballots?
Yeah, one big one that I'm passionate about is wages, right? And so as a state, we incentivize all these industries to come to Tennessee, and we essentially, we pay them millions of dollars, and then they get here, and they pay their employees $10, $11 now. They pay their employees such a low wage that after 40 hours of working, their employees have to go home and again be subsidized by the government because they don't make enough money. So we're essentially incentivizing this industry twice. And so we need to be smart about who we're recruiting, and we need to make sure that the wages are worth bringing this company to Tennessee for. What we don't need to do is incentivize a company millions of dollars to come here to pay $10 an hour to our employees.
Yeah, I
Are there
agree.
particular businesses that kind of stand out as examples of that?
Yeah, I think that you can look at a couple businesses that have come right here to Clarksville. We have a couple factories right here in Clarksville that we've incentivized millions of dollars to, and we see much lower wages than they said they were going to pay.
Interesting. Well, this is very interesting, and I can tell you've been very, very busy. And
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. I want to thank you for, being a voice for Clarksville, Montgomery County at the state level, because I know that's not an easy job. No matter what decision you make, there's always going to be somebody who doesn't agree with you, huh?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I just want to tell you, keep fighting the good fight and keep fighting for Clarksville, Montgomery County. And thank you for serving for us. And thank you for joining us today. And
Yeah, well, thank you for having me.
I wish you much luck at the ballots.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jason.
Thanks, Jason.
See y'all. Bye-bye.